Yes, welcome to the show. This is a special report. I'm True Powers Mind. Today's date is February 4th, 2019. Real quick, I just want to let you all know today at 12 p.m. Central Time and 2 p.m. Eastern Time, I'll have on Brother Corn Sutton on the show. We'll be talking about vegetarianism and bodybuilding and whatever else may cross our path in that particular conversation. But right now, I want to introduce you all to Morris Griffin. I will be having him on the show, aka Big Money. He is a political activist, a Democratic progressive, a brilliant man, and a problem solver. This man here, you guys don't understand. Many of you've never heard of Morris, Mr. Griffin. Uh, he has effective case law that affects each and every one of us. But I will share that with you when I have him on the show. I don't have the date nailed down just yet, but it will be very, very soon. But I do want to share this video that Mr. Griffin made, and it's so on the money. So without further ado, let's get into that, and then we'll do a little extra afterwards. Let me see. That will be all right. Hold on, guys. Bam. All right, let me make sure. Try to get as much, because it's kind of important I get as much of this particular film as I can. So I want you to be able to see everything, guys. So we'll have this. I'm sorry, guys. I want to make sure. Cool. That's about the best I can get it. The name of this film is Zimmerman Self-Inflicted Head Wounds with Gun. Please check it out. Google that on YouTube or Google on Google or search for it on YouTube. Zimmerman Self-Inflicted Head Wound with Gun. Here it is.
Hello, I'm Morris Griffin, better known as Big Money Griff, community activist, leader, and problem solver. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank the late, great Johnny Cochran, who's been very instrumental in my life when it comes to evaluating evidence. And those of you who participated in helping me with this fact-finding evidence. We, the people of California, asked Attorney General Eric Holder to consider prosecutorial misconduct charges against the Stanford, Florida prosecutors. We believe that George Zimmerman inflicted his injuries on his head with his own gun. And so we're here today to reveal to you how he could have done that, according to the evidence by Sarah Mara and according to the actual injuries. These lacerations that was on the back of George Zimmerman's head really reflect what we see when it comes to the pin and the notch to George Zimmerman's gun. We can clearly see that the notch matches this injury and the pin matches this injury. Clearly, that fits just like a puzzle. And so we're saying that when we look at the U on George Zimmerman's head, we can honestly and truthfully say, isn't it ironic that when we look at the shape of the gun in the back part, it actually matches this U here. Why do I say that? Because if George was to hit himself, boom, like that, isn't it ironic that that U also lines up with the notch? Can you see that? This is why we are in an uproar, nationally speaking, with Reverend Al Sharpton and other groups and organizations throughout the United States. Because if it doesn't fit, then you must acquit. And this is where it shows that the evidence fits the crime that we're alleging that George Zimmerman actually assaulted himself when it comes to this manner. And so it goes with me saying that we're asking the DOJ, the Department of Justice, to actually look at the facts pertaining to the evidence. When we look at George Zimmerman's testimony, when George said that Trayvon was on top of him, and I will demonstrate for you what George said. George said that Trayvon was on top of him in this manner, and that Trayvon said, boom, 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 boom. And then George said that Trayvon put his hands over his mouth. And you know, and I know, with all that blood, how come there was no blood on Trayvon's hands? Now, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that you cannot get rid of the DNA. According to the forensic pathologist, there was no DNA on Trayvon's hands. But the testimony that George gave was that Trayvon put his hands over George's mouth. Now, I don't know about you, but DOJ, Department of Justice, according to George said that he was standing away from Trayvon and that Trayvon approached him and hit him. After he hit him, the blood should have came then. A fight occurred. He says that Trayvon ended up on top of him and proceeded to slam his head up against the cement sidewalk to the point that he was almost losing his conscience. After he shot Trayvon, he gets up, according to Sarah Mora. She says that she sees George walking back and forth, hitting himself on the back of his head, walking back and forth. Now, that's the testimony that she gave.
Regresó mientras hacía ese recorrido, tocaba su cabeza con la mano.
He walked towards the receptacles, then he walked back, and while he was doing this pacing, he would put his hands up on his head. Once.
Una mano, la otra la tenía en su cadera, ¿no?
And he had the other hand on his waist.
All right. Can you stand up for us and just place your hands how the man had his hands when he was walking around?
¿Tú puedes, por favor, entonces, ponerte de pie y poner las manos en la posición en que la tenía el hombre según iba caminando?
Así.
Like this.
All right. Just for the record, her right hand was on her head and her left hand was on her left hip.
In addition to that, George goes to work the very next day. And he refuses medical assistance. Now, if that is in fact true, and it is, how do you justify that? So we're asking the DOJ to bring charges against the Florida prosecutors for prosecutorial misconduct, for not bringing this information out in the closing arguments. We feel that the Florida prosecutors were grossly negligent in every way, shape, form, and fashion.
Wow. Hold on, let me stop this. Wow. I mean, to have that inflection. You know, I just wanted to share that with you guys real quick. Just give you something to think about. Please join me later on. I did talk to a good friend tonight. Oh my God, we talked about some crazy stuff. Not crazy stuff, really interesting stuff to me. But I'm gonna make a show. I'm putting a show together with this. I'm gonna have some pictures. It's gonna be like the history of Black Messianic infiltration, I guess. Show a lot of celebrities, a lot of folks that you might not have known that were Masons, and then tie it into how all this is really affecting us, collectively. So, once again, this is Big Money Griff, man. I had a conversation with him the other day. We talked for hours. This brother, really talks about good sound stuff. I mean, I know a lot of people have a problem with the whole liberal thing or the conservative thing. At the end of the day, man, we have to really start having real conversations with each other and others to truly build a proper society, to truly build a place where everybody's safe. Children can run and play. Uh, you can go out and barbecue, whatever you got to do, and just live a little. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but a lot of this stuff that's cracking off in the news is terribly exhausting. And just to illustrate that point, let me let's jump over here real quick. I told everybody to check the markets today, so no, they won't be opening up for another couple of hours. So, looks like General Manning or Bradley Manning rather, actually won the game. That's cool for him. Now he has another ring. Lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. Okay. ICE takes 21 Savage into custody. State of the Union guest will reflect immigration split. Superhuman robot will outstrip mankind within 50 years, warned AI expert. I can't believe like that with the flying cars. But super fast. Hopefully, because I'm going to go to sleep after I do this. I'm not even playing. I'm going to go smooth to sleep. Hold on. These are some bigger stories, I guess. Netanyahu, Trump grinds down on Israel, giant election poster. Construction begins on the Gaza wall. Drug addiction outnumbered high school students and or drug addicts outnumber high school students in San Francisco. Somebody's planning on going to the moon. Hopefully that won't be faked. Janet Jackson, blah, blah, blah. Iowa caucus. All right, really not too much happening in the news, man. So you know, let's just hope that the informant was wrong on that. We don't see any market movement today once the markets actually open up. Because if it does, then honestly, what he's told me next is even more incredible, but whatever. We'll see. This has been Special Report on today's date. Once again, February 4th, 2019, the year of our Lord. As always, please live your life with integrity without hate, envy, or greed, and let's truly try to be kinder to each other.